Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about why your team keeps falling apart and you keep losing in World of Tanks Blitz. I'm going to be talking about some possible solutions to this issue, but as well I just want to remind you guys that of course I don't know every single reason why every team loses. Sometimes it's because of bad players, miscommunication, you just don't have good tanks up against a smasher or something like that. But this is the main reason why I noticed most teams just end up falling apart in the long run, and it's pretty much a guaranteed loss if your team does this one thing. So in this video, hopefully I'm going to teach a couple of you guys something, maybe to stick with the team more, or to figure out where you're going, and to make sure to read the map lineup. Now, you see currently I am looking at a picture of Dead Rail, and by the way, I just want to say I'm using a website called Strats, which is an excellent website. It gives you the ability to draw all over the map. You can see it's really cool, and it's made for World of Tanks or World of Tanks Blitz, so you can look at any map in the game and make strategies for tournaments and other stuff like that. So I'll leave the link into the description down below if you want to check out this website. It's completely free. But other than that, let me get straight into this. Now, you can see on my main slide I have a normal team lineup. You can see the enemy team has 3 medium tanks and a light tank or something like that. And my team, of course, has mediums and lights as well. But the difference is that every single team lineup you get has different types of vehicles. You're not always going to have a balanced lineup like this with 3 heavies, 3 mediums, and a light tank, or a tank destroyer like that. Some games you get 3 tank destroyers on your team, and the enemy team only has medium tanks. So you have to make sure you read the lineup and specifically look at each tank they have on their team, and you want to predict, well, are they going to go run over here? Are they going to go to the medium side? Or is their team going to push heavy side? So you're going to see the first scene I have here is you'll notice the green team has 5 heavy tanks, and those heavy tanks are of course pushing heavy side on Dead Rail. And what's happening is we have 2 medium tanks on the green team, and they're pushing up medium side. Now, normally, this would be a good matchup. You'd have the mediums pushing mediums, the heavies pushing heavy. So this is sort of like an ideal situation, but it really isn't. Because if you take a look at the enemy team, you'll notice, well, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fast tanks. We only have 2 fast tanks. So what the enemy team's probably going to do is they're going to end up following these mediums because they're the fastest tanks, there's more of them. Enemy team's going to follow those guys and push up to this side. So now what's happening is you have 2 of the green medium tanks versus the entire enemy team. So these green guys here, as you're going to see on slide B, are completely dead. They're going to get pushed on, and there's nothing they're going to do. They're probably not going to end up taking anybody out, and the enemy tanks are just going to completely rush you. And I'm guessing you guys have obviously had situations like this, where you just push somewhere and their whole team goes that way. So make sure you read the lineup, because if you notice the enemy team has 4 mediums or 5 fast tanks, and they only have 1 tank destroyer or 1 big heavy tank, and your team is filled with heavies, you do not want to go medium side, because you are just going to be completely destroyed in less than a minute or so. So because of this, you can see the green team is already down 2 medium tanks. So now there's 5 tanks, and the enemy team should still be sitting around 7 healthy tanks on their side. And now what's happening is you've got your team still pushing through over here, thinking that they're going to come up behind the enemy team trying to flank them. But the issue is that they're heavy tanks, and of course heavy tanks are not going to be as quick as the mediums and the lights. So what's going to end up happening is the enemy tanks are going to rush all the way through your base, and they're going to come up behind your heavy tanks while your other tanks are trying to continue flanking. And I've seen this so many times in many battles. It doesn't matter what map you're on, this always happens. You have your team that is constantly running around one side of the map, and the enemy team is quicker because they're filled with mediums. So what happens is the enemy team, as you can see, is going to come up behind a couple of your tanks. Those tanks are going to turn around, and they're going to try and fight back at the mediums, as you can see. But the issue, again, is 2 heavy tanks aren't going to do much against 4 or 5 tanks that have just suddenly popped up behind you. They've already taken, 1,000 hit points off you because you had to turn around, and now they're just constantly pummeling you with shell after shell, as your useless heavies over here are just continuing the flank, thinking that they're going to come all the way across the map behind their tanks to get some shots off. And then you'll see, sometimes you'll have one of the guys come back, but it's too late by then. So you can see you've pretty much lost the entire game. And that's the issue. You can see here, these guys are dead, and their team is still very, very healthy, and now you've just got these 3 useless heavy tanks here that are just going to have a last stand or whatever, and you know they never win. And this always happens. I've had so many matches like this, and it's on every single map. So the key thing you need to learn from this is make sure you read the team lineup. All the way at part A, you can see that obviously their team's going to push medium. Just on paper, you can see they've got more mediums than heavies, so statistically they should be pushing medium. Now sometimes you'll get one of those really just stupid teams that, you know, just randomly pushes 4 medium tanks heavy side, but usually you're never going to have something like that happen. On to the second scenario. Unlike the first one, where the issue with the first scenario I showed you guys, and that's what actually happens a lot of the games for me, is that, you know, a player like me, I can notice immediately if the team's going to lose just by where they're pushing, looking at the enemy lineup, noticing things that other teammates might not notice sometimes. So the issue with that lineup is even if you know where to go and you tell the team where to go, 90% of the time they just ignore you and they go wherever they want to go. And because of that, that's why you lose so many battles, is because teammates are just so unwilling to cooperate together and win a game, or read the lineup, or just simple things that would easily win a battle. So because of that, the first scenario is very, very hard to counteract once it's been starting to take place. This one I'm going to show you guys is very similar to the first one, but it is easily able to counter as long as you use a little bit of common sense. When taking a look at the map, you'll notice that the green team has 4 heavily armored tanks and they have 3 faster ones. And it's sort of the opposite thing for the red team, as they have 4 faster tanks and then they have 3 heavily armored ones. So it's sort of the opposite scenario, and because of this, it changes the outcome of the battle a very, very large amount. Because of course the mediums on the green team are still going to push medium side, because 3 mediums by no means is a small number. That's usually the average amount every single tier 10 battle or tier 8 battle gets on, you know, every game. And the enemy team has a larger number of mediums, so even though the green team has a pretty good amount, the enemy team is still 1 up, and because of that, the enemy mediums are probably going to be a lot more aggressive. They're going to push on the green ones, and they're going to kill them. And what's going to end up happening is when they kill those tanks, the enemy mediums or the faster tanks on the enemy team are going to slowly come up behind your heavies, and they're going to start tearing them apart, because you've got these heavies in front of your team. So while your 4 heavy tanks are trying to deal with the heavies on front, they also now have to deal with the guys flanking them from the rear. And that's how you easily lose most of your battles, is because you get flanked from the rear, and as well you have to deal with the tanks on the front. There's a lot of maps that happen like this. You've got Mines, Naval Frontier, you've got Falls Creek. There are so many maps like this, Copperfield, where your heavy tanks need to push and they don't. So the smart thing to do to really easily counteract that would be, instead of your medium tanks dying right off the bat, when they spot the enemy, you know, tanks coming across the map. So, you know, your medium tanks are going to spot these guys when they're all the way back here. So they're spotting them, and they're spotting those red tanks. Your team over here, the heavy guys, they immediately need to know, well, since all their mediums are spotted here, there's 4 of them, that means there has to be these 3 guys left, which are spotted, of course, by the heavies. So as soon as the heavies notice, well, they've got more medium tanks over there, and the only guys that are over here are these 3 heavy tanks, they can easily push on those heavies and kill them right off the game, because they're going to be dead. 3 heavy tanks are not going to be able to deal with 4 heavy tanks. There's 2,000 more hit points, and there's an extra gun. All you need to do is push. But the issue is that 99% of the time, the teams just don't push. They hold here, they stay still, and the red team will win 99% of the time, because the enemy heavies are just going to hold there, your heavies are going to hold, and then the mediums are going to flank. So if you notice something like this happening, the smartest thing to do is, of course, your mediums are still going to die. But what you need to do is you need your heavies to immediately push on the enemy, because they're going to knock out all of the enemy heavies. So now you're down with, you know, you still got your 4 heavy tanks over here, and now all they need to do is they need to get into a holding position. Of course, the base is right in front of them, so the mediums can't go into the base and cap them out. Now that the heavy tanks have cleared the enemy heavies, what they can do is they can sort of position themselves in a situation like this, where medium tanks can't flank them no matter what, because they've got every single side covered, as you can see. You know, there's nowhere they can really get shot from. So the smart thing to do is put in a holding position like that, and then the mediums really can't do anything. It's 4 versus 4, and heavy tanks have more hit points. They're going to be doing a good job. So you can definitely see it's able to be countered on a position like that. And of course it works the opposite way as well. You know, if the enemy team has the less heavy tanks and the medium team of course gets pushed on, it works exactly the same way. You just need to know what to do in the right scenario. So of course, on a game where it's the opposite scenario and you've got the less heavy tanks over here, what you want to do is you just want to hold, because you know your mediums are going to win the medium side. So all you need to do is hold. Don't risk losing hit points. Don't pull out and say, oh, I can get this guy without receiving damage. If you're in a mouse, that's perfect. All the jobs, all the mouse has to do really is, you know, keep your position here and don't push past that sort of center line, and you'll be fine. You're not losing hit points. The enemy can't get shots on you. They don't want to push past because they got 3 gun barrels aiming at them. You know, that's 1,500 hit points sometimes that they'll lose immediately if they push past that line. So you just hold in your heavies if you got less. Let your mediums flank, and then they're going to come all the way behind and work their magic. So you can definitely see it's very, very smart on both sides of the spectrum if you just know what to do. And you can easily win every single game on a scenario like this. But again, the issue is teammates just don't know how to collaborate. They just go where they want to go. They ignore if somebody pings the map. They ignore teammates saying stuff, and they go wherever they want to go because they're selfish for some reason. And the thing is, you guys need to take part on the battlefield. Now, of course, if you're a new player watching this video, I hope you did learn about why you're probably losing more of your games. But the main thing is that you need to listen to your peers in the battle. If you notice there's somebody from a higher up clan and they're saying, well, you know, maybe guys we should push over here or something like that, or they're a more experienced player and they know the maps, listen to them. But sometimes you get the issue that you get this awful player that has no clue what they're doing and they're just calling people to go a certain way. And I'll be like, why are you doing that? Obviously the enemy team's going to push over here, so why are you making the whole team go one way? So sometimes you need to realize, well, this guy has no clue what he's doing, put him in his place, and figure out what you're doing. So obviously, if you're a new player, don't just go out there shouting strategies where to go. Take your time, learn the maps, and you'll do really well. But I hope this video did teach you guys something new, and I hope it did sort of shed some light on why you could possibly be losing so many games, because I'd say about 60-70% of the games I play, it's these two scenarios that happen. Either my team gets completely rushed on one side and it keeps just going down and down and down as one side of the heavies keeps on going forwards and the others have to turn around, or it's the scenario you see on desert sand. And these two scenarios can happen on any single map in the game, so keep that in mind. It's not just these two maps. You can put it on any map, Mines, Himmelsdorf, any single map, and every single time this scenario holds true. So I hope you guys did learn something new. I hope you stuck with this video and it wasn't too boring, but I really wanted to show the main reason why people have so many losses in a row, and what you need to do to work together as a team. But other than that, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did learn something new, please consider subscribing to the channel. I haven't been posting for a while, if any of you guys have been wondering. I just had so many exams and tests and other stuff. I really just haven't had the time to be able to. So I finally have had the time. Spring break's coming out soon, so I'll be off for that. I'll be getting more and more videos out for you guys, so keep tuned, and I'm going to be trying to do more informational videos on Blitz as well as tank reviews, because I really feel the more information I can spread is going to make the game better as a whole and really as a community. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to subscribe. If you want to help me out on Patreon, make sure to check that link out in the description down below. And other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.